Hey, check, check. It's working. Sorry, I shouted at the beginning. Right off the bat. I thought I was having a problem with my microphone, but it seems to be okay. Check, check. Hey, 1, 2. You guys hear me okay? Everything sound okay? Check, check. 1, 1, 1. Just seeing some weird readings on the audio for my mic, but as long as you guys coming through fine, has been awesome. I've made Ben a moderator today because he offered last week. Thank you, Ben. And if we get any more of those weird robo spam bot swarm attack things, then my Canadian brethren will help me, I think. So I appreciate it. Thanks, Ben. Hi, everybody. Hey, if anybody was down at Pitbull yesterday, I had a great time doing a clinic with my PT15 IR amp. It was a really amazing day, actually, because after that I drove out to the beach down there by San Diego. I got to show you guys this picture right off the bat, because it was just one of those days where you don't know the sunset's going to be so incredible, and then it was, and it was like that last night. It was just an unbelievable night down around San Diego, Southern California. So it was really great. I had a great day yesterday, and everybody was so cool at the clinic and really kind and stuff. It was just a lot of fun. And so thanks if anybody was down there in San Diego, if they're watching today. Shaping up to be a hot day here, says Mute That Bozo. Yeah, it's warm here too. It's like 85 degrees. And what do we got going here? Who's here? Who's in the house? We got about 125 people online. Thanks for being here, everybody. And let's see. Fendow79 says, do you recommend Thornbuckers and Les Paul with modern wiring or 50s? I like the 50s wiring personally. It's been a long time since I AB'd, to tell you the truth, but back many years ago I sort of switched to 50s wiring, like probably around 2004 or something. I remember getting those RS kits. You guys remember that? RS Guitar Works, and they make those kits, and with the pots and the caps and all that stuff in them, and they would specify if you want, when you ordered, if you want modern wiring or 50s wiring, and I went 50s wiring, and seems to sound great and roll down right and everything. I don't know. So that's just, I've used it ever since then. There's Dominican Republic in the house. What's up, Wilberto Reyes? Nice to have you here. I went down there once many years ago. I was only there for like 48 hours, but I had a good time playing a gig down there. Yeah, Ben is a mod, like as in Quadrophenia. Exactly. The mods and the rockers. Ben, you're a mod today. It's true. It's true. All right. What else we got going here? Any guitar questions, folks? Any guitar questions? What do you think about that pedal, the quartz for your board tempos, rather than using the one in the switcher? What's that? I don't know what that is, Braxall. Is it a tap tempo, master tap tempo or something? The only thing I do tap tempo on is my delay, really. I don't do anything else with tap tempo. So I just have the, I use the standard tap right now in the DD500 if I'm tapping, or used to be on my timeline, I would tap tempo there. I don't have like a master tap. Actually, I have a little tap as well for my Echoplex. I've got the little, mini micro MXR switch for that one. Happy belated birthday, says Jerry. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Getting older. What can you do? Scott says, I can't stay. It's heading to Victoria, BC for Canada Day. Hey, that's awesome. What do I think of Relish guitars? Don't know Relish guitars. Sorry, haven't tried one of those. But do have a good time in Victoria. That's a beautiful city. If nobody's ever been, up on Vancouver Island. Gorgeous. My folks lived there for a while, actually. I spent a couple of years out there in the early 90s. So I would go visit them there. They lived out of a place called Brentwood Bay by the botanical gardens there. I guess maybe south of Victoria, just a little bit, something like that. It's been a long time since that would be the last time I was there in Victoria, so it's ages ago. What strings and gauge do you use and why? That's a good question. I use 9.5s, Ernie Ball. I've been using, and they're. First of all, I've been an Ernie Ball endorser since, I don't know, probably going on 15 to 20 years. I really like Ernie Ball strings. They've been great for me. And the 9.5s I went to when I started feeling like 10s were a bit of a slog in a really hot summer last year in Japan. 10s were feeling like super heavy to me on stage. I don't know why. I'd be, some of these guitar solos I had to play and stuff would be kind of like high energy with a lot of bending and stuff and a lot of kind of, attitude or something. And I would start to feel like the 10s were wearing me out. I don't know. It was weird. And I was like, is it just me or what's happening? Why do 10s all of a sudden feel heavy? And then I heard that Paul Gilbert actually goes down a gauge when he tours in a super hot climate. It goes up a gauge in colder climates. I was like, wow, that's a thing. Like, maybe I'm not crazy. So yeah, I started experimenting with using the down a half gauge. I didn't want to go to 9s all the way, and there's other friends of mine that were using 9.5s, like Brian Ray from Paul McCartney's band. He likes 9.5s and he's used them for years. So I thought, I'll try these, and sure enough, they felt like what I thought 10s should feel like. So it's like a 9.5. I don't know what the G strings. It's maybe a 16 gauge, so maybe it's from a 9 set. But the B and the E are like 9.5 and 11.5. And then the low E is a 44. Works really good for me. So I am enjoying that. Do I sing? A little bit. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips. And there's no tenderness. No, sorry about that. Karaoke. No, I sing. I'm just not a born singer, I don't feel like. I've never been, I guess I'm just an honest admission. I'm not like feeling like I'm a super confident singer. So I do it and I work on it hard in rehearsal and stuff, because there's times when you have to sing, I'll give you an example. I used to sing the Eddie Vedder part with Chris Cornell. So on Hunger Strike, sorry, I didn't specify the song, but I used to sing that. And when I found out, I already had the gig, but so I saw Hunger Strike on the song list and I knew we were going to try it the next day at rehearsal. And I thought, I'm going to jump on that vocal part. I want to sing that song with Chris Cornell, like really bad. So I jumped on the vocal part and worked on it. I went really hard that night at home because I had to play the arpeggio part and sing at the same time, So it's like I don't remember how to do it. Right. That part. So I had to play that and sing it. And I don't know if I could still do it or not. Certainly not right now after. Blood is on the table, fires. Yeah, see, I just screwed up. Fires cooking. And yeah, I can't do it right now. I have to sit and practice it. Okay, let's try it. Put my ass on the line. Blood is on the table, fires cooking. And the phone babies and slaves are working. Like that. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. Like that. So I'm not at all warm, but anyway, I tried. So anyway, I worked my ass on that. I worked my ass off on that that night at home. And I tried so hard to get it and nail it and stuff. And then I went in rehearsal the next day and he said, oh, great. Okay. So you're doing that part now. So then I sang it for the next 3 years on tour. But I had to really that was a big step for me. Even just to do it right now, actually, is like, I feel like a fear of that singing. Whereas some people I feel like are like a natural born singers and they can just bust out and do it. Just like playing guitar is for us guitar players, I guess, or something. So anyway, it was a thing that I always felt like I had to work on. If that makes sense. So I sing, but I feel like I'm a hobbyist or student singer or something. That's just my honest admission. But you have to do it on gigs. My honest thing is, like, if somebody asks you at an audition, like, do you sing? You just say yes. Not the diatribe I just gave you, which is my sort of honest, like, well, this is actually how I feel about it. But if anybody asks you at an audition, the number one thing I can offer up is just say yes. and then practice it. If you've got to take vocal lessons, if you got to do whatever you got to do, because it really makes you an asset to a band. If you can, if you can at least do good background vocals, it can be the deciding factor in you getting the gig over somebody else. So it's really important. Craig says, I have all the UA amp plugins, unsure what to get next. Huge UA sale ending today. Any 4 for $399, 8 for $700. These are usually $349 each. Any 4 for $399. That's actually a really good deal, isn't it? Capital, Ocean Way Studios, Lexicon, 224, 480L reverbs. That new Capital reverb, if anybody's a UA user, is outstanding. It sounds amazing. It doesn't really do short reverbs, but it's like if you want to do like a real short, tight room or anything. But for anything long and airy and natural sounding, it's a really beautiful sounding reverb. So get that if you want something great. Ocean Way Studios is great too for that, and that would be your tight, more like just like a room ambience to make a guitar sound that's maybe mono, like just get a little bit wider and stuff and sound really natural. The Ocean Way Studios is killer for that. A little bit of a CPU hog, and it's not something that you have to really just use it in a mix. It doesn't really, like most of the UA plugins, I've had mixed results using them if I pull them up in my DAW when I'm not mixing, and if I want to get zero latency. Those out there that have it will know what I'm talking about. But for mixing, just killer. The amp plugins, I love mine. I really do. I mean, I can't recommend it highly enough, actually. And I had very little to do with it. I mean, UA just took, or UA and Brainworks, it's really the Brainworks guys. They took the amp and modeled it to perfection. They really did a great job on it. So, and I only, I got one version of it, and I made some suggestions for some tweaks in the early version, and then they did it, and I got the next one, and that was the finished one. It was like, this is amazing. You guys knocked it out of the park. So check that out. I haven't tried the other one, but I hear good things about it. The high gain SE 100 or whatever, the other Sir plugin. As far as let me think about some of the other ones. Oh, another one that I've used a lot is the Friedman Dirty Shirley. Great for clean stuff. The Buxom Betty, I think, sounded pretty good too. I haven't messed with it as much. I'm sure it's really good. But the Dirty Shirley, I've used it on demos. For instance, when I've done demos of stereo effects, you'll probably find things that I did at my old apartment, where, I'm obviously in that kind of like, that my apartment environment or whatever. And it'll be a demo for like, a rotary pedal or certain delays that are in stereo. Maybe some of the Nunebur videos I made for like the Immerse or something, or the Inspire, I think it's called, some of those pedals. I probably used the Friedman on those because that was before I had my amp plugin. But the clean channel, or sorry, it's not really like clean dirty. I think it's got a gain switch on it, so you can set the gain kind of low, and you just crank the master on that Friedman DS40 plugin, and then you bring up the gain to about 2. And it's got a beautiful clean sound, like really great, to the point where I had people saying, what's the amp on this sound? Like, this sounds amazing. Really, really good. So, check that out. But the clean channel on my amp's really good too on the PT100 plugin. So got to get those. Marshalls, for some of the, the Plexi one's cool. It's a little kind of like a real Plexi. It's actually kind of like slightly unruly at certain settings, and it's not like the most pleasant, easy to sounding plugin to get to sound good, but you can get it to sound good, and when you do, it's pretty damn cool. So check out that as well. Maybe you can demo it. You can just try the demo. You can answer your own question actually, because just demo them, and then you'll know what to get. Turn on that, spend 3 hours or something, just pick out which ones you want, I would say, by demoing them. Okay, I'm going to move on. But thanks for doing the top chat as well. I forgot to mention that was Craig in the top chat asking about UA plugins. And I would say between Ocean Way Studios, Capital, a couple of those amp plugins I mentioned, can't go wrong. Another like basic thing that I use a lot from UA, and it's not expensive, I don't think, probably on a normal deal, but the limiter, just the precision limiter, is really good, the UA one, and I use that a lot just at the end of my chain if I'm doing like my video demos. and I need a limiter just to kind of like for, if I'm spitting out, guitar tracks and things like that, I want to get them kind of hot, but I don't really use it for mixing, but I use it for like individual tracks. If I'm, kicking out a voiceover and I want it to be kind of hot, or a guitar track, I want it to kind of, I'll just use that precision limiter from UA, and it works really good. Okay. Hello from a sunny and super hot UK, says Gary. Yeah, I know you guys are having a hot one over there, right? It's a heat wave in Europe right now. Tell you, global warming, it's a thing. I saw today that the UN head of the UN, said we got any more than the Paris Climate Accord. Shouldn't get into that on my show here, but he said that, it's urgent, like, like raising the alarm bell, like this is bad, what's happening. So it's a concern. But yeah, I know you guys are having this crazy heat wave right now. I mean, it's like Poland. I've heard from everybody over there. It's just like super hot. Have I ever tried the Keeley Retro Super Germanium Fat Mod? I haven't, but I am a fan of just about everything Keeley I've ever tried. I know Robert, and he's a great guy, and he makes great stuff. I've never tried that particular one, but all the Keeley pedals I've tried have been great. I used to use his, whatever the boost is, that's kind of got a extra harmonic kind of stuff. What's that Keeley boost? It's so good. With the knob on the side. Somebody will know what it's called here. That's a really, really good pedal. And the Dan and Mick drive that I did recently is really good. I've got a Keeley pedal here to make a demo of, actually, which I believe it's like delay and distortion and something else all in one pedal. So I'm excited to try that, actually, because it seems like Robert told me a while ago when I saw him at GitCon, he says he's most excited about like combining different effects into one pedal. And that's kind of where he sees his future going. Like, he'll combine different things. He made that great Hendrix pedal a while ago. It was really cool. That had kind of all the, the vibe and the fuzz and everything. Tim's in the top chat, and he says, hoping we don't get raided by some other channel this week. I don't know what that was last week. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing people did. I guess I'm just old. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. But hey, I got Ben Coombs as a moderator. He's going to help us out because he's a good man, and I do appreciate his help. Thanks for doing the top chat, Tim. I appreciate that very much. And Jennifer's in the top chat. Hi, Jennifer. She says, off topic. Am I hearing of more music copyright takedowns? I'm receiving maybe 3 or 4 per day on Instagram, old posts. I haven't had that actually happen. Happy belated. Thanks. No, but I don't put a lot of cover stuff. I don't put up a lot of, anything that's like cover songs, generally speaking. I don't do a lot of that, either on YouTube or on Instagram, only occasionally. So I guess I've avoided but I have heard, I did hear a little bit about the copyright thing, which was that evidently what happened was, and don't quote me on this, but it's something like the Universal Music Group outsourced some of their copyright stuff to, a firm in India or something like that. And they were, maybe it's just robo stuff, but they were just going after everybody after that. And it was crazy. And the person that was telling me this said that even, Universal agreed, like, this is way out of hand. Like, it's like, they're getting way too aggressive with it, and it wasn't what they had intended to do. You don't quote me on that, but that's what I was told by a source. And so maybe it's going to sort of resolve itself before it gets too much more crazy, so we'll see what happens with it. But anything you and your name are on sounds amazing, says Johnny. Hey, thanks. Sometimes I feel like I don't have as much to do with this stuff as people might think. Like the plugin thing, I really got to lend the work to, the credit for the work to Brainworks, because they just killed it on that thing. It was really amazing. But I do work hard on this stuff. Hey, come on. Initially, we had to come up with the amp, so I was remembering all the times I drove out there the other day to work on the PT100, because I called that song of mine for the PT100 demo back in like 2013. We had this contest, and somebody entered to name the song, right? It was a name the song contest, and they said Elsinore Drive, and we called the song Elsinore Drive because I said, well, that's exactly what I do. I've driven out here like 400 times in order to work on this amp, and it was an hour and 20-minute drive each way. So yeah, the effort is definitely it's there, and John and Kevin, man, it was really exciting yesterday having the new amp at the clinic for the first time, because people could actually see it and hear it, and I got to, in the flesh for sort of group of people that I was able to sit there with and show, hey, I can pull the speaker cable right out of the amp, and then it's still coming through the PA and the monitors, and it sounded really good, I think. So I hope they enjoyed it as much as I did. I had a really good time at the clinic at Pitbull Audio yesterday in San Diego. Let's see what else we got here. What are my thoughts on shielding strats? I mean, Sir does it pretty well, right, on the guitars that are from the factory. I mean, I guess shielding, it's a great question for a tech, because my guitars, generally speaking, have the noiseless system in them, so it's a different thing. My guitars will have the Sir silent single coil 2, setup. So, like, for instance, the white Sir Classic that's back there, and it's got that system in it for the singles, and it keeps the guitars quiet. So, but I'm sure they do shielding stuff as well. Like, I'm sure the back of that pickguard on that guitar has probably got standard kind of copper shielding tape or something. I'm just not 100% sure about that. I don't remember, but it can be helpful, I think, for sure. All right. Move down a little bit here. What IRs do you recommend for the HX Stomp? Planning on getting one soon to make my pedal board smaller and more flexible. Love your playing. Thanks. That's Daniel. Well, I recommend the Celestion. The new Sir ones, Backline Heroes collection, are great. Or the standard Celestion Greenback. 412, 121, and 57 high gain mix is a great place to start. That's just a great sounding impulse response. If you watched my video recently that I put out at the high gain channel for the PT amp this week, in the beginning, I show you what my mics sound like in the room on the first guitar part I play on that song, and then I go to the IR because I recorded them both at the same time, and you can hear that IR on that particular clip. And a lot of people in the comments, I was both in the YouTube comments and also on the gear page, I guess, because I posted the video on the gear page. A lot of people said, wow, I actually kind of almost prefer the sound of the IR to the mics, which was great, I thought, because it's a different sound, because of course it's an IR of a different setup than what I have here. But I think it was a really comparable sound, just slightly different. It was like slightly more mid-forward, a little bit less lows, a little bit less highs, a little bit more compact sound. And a lot of people said they liked it better than the mics. So I think that's great. So that's a great place to start. That 121 and 57 high gain mix on that speaker. And I would recommend that for any of the, like, if you're an H30 kind of person, or if you're a V30 kind of person, try that 121, 57 high gain mix on any of the, for any of the speakers. On any of the cabs, because that's a great combo. That's a classic mic combo that tends to work well on a lot of stuff. But I'm a kind of a greenback person, so that's one I always recommend. That's a real good place to start. Do you know who is your competition with Audition? Says Nico. In my particular case, it's funny because the LA music world got smaller and smaller and smaller the longer I stayed in the game. And you would see the same people show up at auditions, and many times it would be your friends. So it's that weird thing, like, hey, dude, what's up, when you see somebody there. But everybody's got each other's back, and you just got to go in there and do your thing. And you never know. The reason they pick you could be, once again, it could be the singing. You could go in and sing, and there might be somebody that's a good friend of yours that goes in and they get the gig over you because they're actually a stronger singer, Or maybe it's the way that they, their hair looked that day or something. You just never know. So you just go in and do the best you can. Try and be, to the best of your ability, what you think they will want. EP Stone is in the top chat. He's in Europe. Thanks for doing the top chat there. Don't stay cool over there. Don't cook in the heat wave. What is your pickup suggestion for a mahogany guitar with roasted maple neck and fingerboard and maple cap? Our Sir Thornbucker and Thornbucker Plus. I mean, it's basically what I have. I've got a mahogany neck on my guitar. You're asking for roasted maple with a maple cap, so it's going to be a little bit snappier and brighter, but with a mahogany body. I mean, Thornbucker works great in everything I've thrown in, and it's just a PAF style pickup, really. That's my particular, maybe slightly warmer PAF than something like a Duncan 59, at least the bridge pickup. If you can imagine a Duncan 59 with a slightly more rolled off slightly less edge on the top end, but yet still a very open sound, which is done a different, just a different magnet than a 59, and also the wine's different because the coils are mismatched and stuff like that. So it's a different sound, but it's not dissimilar to something like a 59. Got more in common with it than not. That's the thing. So a 59 works good in a Les Paul. It'll work good in a Strat, but Alder. Um, I think it might actually work really well in a maple neck, maple cap, because it will have a slightly more rolled off top end. So that's going to sort of mitigate the snappier maple neck thing. Classic rock and single coil tones. Like, you mean you want to tap it? I would recommend trying series parallel as well. That's what I do in my guitar. The bridge humbucker, I have it set up for series parallel so that I can just pull the tone pot, and that gives you a real cool, kind of almost telly-like sound, really. Humbucker and parallel is a great sound, I think. So who's in the dances reluctantly is up there in the top chat, and he says, let's throw some money around here. Thank you, good sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing the top chat. I really do. You're always here as well. You're a good supporter. You are always here every Sunday. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Too hot for my liking, says Bam Mosey. How's things for you? I guess that means it's hot where he's at. Let's see. In Ireland, did you remember to bring it up about getting a Sir dealer in Ireland? That's JJ. I haven't yet. Now you're reminding me again, though. It's one of the many things I have to do. I will try and remember to do that. To the powers that be. When you do instrumental pieces, do you start with the drum parts first from Superior Drummer to inspire you to make the guitar parts, then the guitar, then the bass? That's Braxall. So generally speaking, I do like to write to drums, like put on some drum grooves and see what comes out, because you'll write riffs differently if you just throw up a drum groove. And generally speaking, it can be a really good inspiring thing, but sometimes you'll just come up with a riff and then you got to put the drums to that. So, if the riff comes first, then what I'll do is go into Superior Drummer and tap in, because there's that tap to find feature so that you can find beats, grooves that are close to what you need for your song. So I'll go into Superior Drummer then and tap in something that it's like, okay, here's my riff, what'll work, tap it in, it'll spit out a whole bunch of grooves. I'll find something close, find a kit that sounds good, and then I'll start pulling that into Logic, the various grooves, fills, and things, lining them all up. And then I'll go in and tweak things like the kick drum pattern if it's slightly off from what I need, or where I want the crashes to land, or accents, So that's kind of how. But sometimes it'll start with a groove. But yeah, and then generally what I'll do is I'll map out the drums and the rhythm guitar, and I'll get like an arrangement where it's like that's all kind of mapped out, generally speaking. And then after that sometimes I'll play most of the guitars before I add the bass, which is kind of weird, but sometimes I'll play at least two of the rhythm guitar parts and then add the bass, and then go back and do solos. It's more fun to solo over things, I find, and play lead if the bass is there. If you've just got rhythm guitars going on, it sort of is weird to play solos over. I don't know if you guys find that or not, but but there's no rhyme or reason. I'll go at writing and arrangement and stuff in a number of different ways. But I guess that's sort of a framework, right? Like tapping in the groove once I've got a riff that I like or whatever. If I'm not writing to the drums, if that hasn't been the first thing, if the guitar comes first, tapping in the groove and finding a bunch of grooves that sort of work, piecing it together. And then I'm sort of, sometimes you'll tap in the groove and you'll find a beat that's cool. And it's like, now you've got your verse part in that groove. And then I'll hit like in Superior Drummer, because it's got all those great, like, to use the song creator, it spits out bridge ideas and chorus ideas. So you go to the bridge and all of a sudden there's some tom pattern or something. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. And that'll inspire the next part of the song. Like, what if I use I'll play off that. And then, so it is a really Superior Drummer and Easy Drummer, which are very similar. Just Superior is just deeper. But don't discount Easy Drummer 2 or 3 or whatever incarnation they're on now, I think. Iteration. It's a better word. don't discount Superior Easy Drummer, because it's a great tool, because it is a little bit easier and sort of more streamlined, and uh, terrific things for songwriting. These things that those tune track people make. Leon's in the top chat, and he says, just wanted to say thanks for Bogner Blue Mini recommendation. I'm on tour in Italy with the provided backline, and it saved my life. Cool, man. That's awesome. It's great to hear, like, a real world. Have a beer on me. He says, thanks for doing the top chat as well. Great, you're over in Italy on tour. That must be awesome, even though it's super hot, I bet. But I bet the food's great, and just have yourself an Aperol spritz and sit outside and enjoy. What was my point? Oh yeah, so backline for sure, with a great clean amp. That Bogner pedal with the bright switch and all that. I mean, you can probably dial it in for just about any backline that you find. I think the Bogner Blue is a really terrific overdrive. You can hit that with something like an Archer or a Tube Screamer. You got a great clean crunch lead then. Terrific. Really good plexi in a box kind of pedal for sure. Let's see. What else we got here? Hey Pete, I'm interested in a carrier with guitar, but I live in a third world country. What advice would you give me? How do you get your name out there? What was your general steps? Oh, you mean career. Got it. Sorry. So that's Mr. Batur, and he says he's in a third world country. He's interested in a career with guitar. What advice would I give you? Well, when I think about somebody like Matthias Asado, that built his career really using Instagram as his vehicle to discovery, right? He just played beautiful stuff on Instagram. 15-second videos was all you could do back then when he got started. And he built a massive following on Instagram. That's hard. It would be hard not to take notice of somebody that had as many followers as him. I mean, he probably had a few 100,000 or something by the time he was then, using other things like, coming to the States and starting to get touring gigs. He built a whole, thing where it'd be hard not to take notice. So with social media these days, just, I would say, and I know it's crowded and all that, but you really just have to be the best at what you do, make beautiful music, and use the social media if you're in a place where that's your one avenue to reach the world. Use it wisely, come up with some amazing concept for videos or something that lets you get your playing out there, and just post, and then see if that, that can get you to the next level. It could put you on the map with, like, if you play an Ibanez guitar, tag Ibanez in every video you do, and it could put you on the map with them, because then they start reposting your video and they like you, and then you can contact them and say, hey, would you be interested in working with me? And if you're really amazing, they'll be like, yeah, we love what you do, and okay, now you've got a company somewhere else in the world that can help you to, or it could be that, I mean, many of these people that are sort of maybe unknown players in other, you think about somebody like Matthias, then garnering the praise and respect, and really he's a fan. John Mayer, he'll like and comment on Matthias's posts, and he's so you get a guy like that behind you, and now you never know. So that's just how it works with social media, is that really beautiful organic thing can happen. You just have to be really great at what you do, which doesn't mean you have to be like Matthias. It just means maybe you've got a different thing that you do, that's maybe you write, I don't know, you know what I mean? It could be you and a tabla player, like writing some incredible other kind of music or something, or you and, I don't know what. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. It can't be what he does, but just in your own style. If you play metal or something, you just have to make something creative and awesome that catches people's interest. And the vehicle is there. Now it's just the idea has to come from you. If you watch the video that I did with Paul Davids last week, I put it out last week. We made it a while ago in Germany. He talks about don't make videos if you don't have an idea. So, I guess the thing is, use social media once you have a great idea that's fully developed, and now you've got your vehicle to reach lots of people. So work on developing something. And that's it. That's my advice. The best thing you probably do from a third world country. And the interesting thing is these opportunities just weren't around 10 years ago or 15 years ago. That really wasn't I mean, I guess YouTube, but Instagram only really became a thing. And I don't know. When did that start? I got in the game late for some very stupid reasons. I should have been on it way earlier. But we won't get into that. Anyways, let's see. Looking down. Find a question here. Hey, Pete, newcomer here. Can you do a more in-depth demo of your UA PT100 plugin for recording and layering? And please mention that Scott Henderson released a new Scott Henderson's new album's out tomorrow. That's cool. I want to hear that. I loved his last one. What was his last record called? Something Station, Voodoo Station, or something like that. Anyway, his last record was amazing. It was really killer. I've actually still got it in my car on CD. I can't remember the name though right now. But anyway, I look forward to hear his new one. People Mover, it's called. So everybody check out Scott's record. He's a wonderful guy and great guitar player. He always cracks me up. He's great personality and he's just such a unique player too. It's him instantly. That's for sure. And a more in-depth review of the PT. The thing is, I've just got so many like pedals and stuff to do. It becomes difficult for me to go back and do things because there's always new stuff coming in. So there's only so much time, and I find I get really overloaded. And so to go back and just do the easiest way, with the PT100 plugin. I mean, there's already I did that full video with the tune and stuff like that, and then there's also probably lots of other ones out there now, people using it. But also you can demo the UA plugins. So that's the beautiful thing is if you've got a UA interface anyway, you just hit start demo and you get 2 weeks with it where you get to use the full version of the plugin. So it's unlike anything else. It's basically the most easiest thing to check out there is these UA plugins, really, because you can use them for a while before you got to make the decision whether or not it's for you. I wish I could. I wish I had more time. I'm sorry. I just I'd be then spending time making a demo for something that I sort of already did and that came out a long time ago. And there's folks that are like, hey, I've got this new pedal that's coming out on the 30th of this month and we really want you to make a video. I'd be saying, sorry, I got to make the video for a product that's been out for a year and a half or something, This isn't, I wish I could, but I will use it though in more videos. That's and those are sort of, it's like me demoing it, right? Like, because I do use it. Certain videos lend themselves to using plugins for the amplifier sounds, and the ones that I use the most when I use the plugin amp is like in video where I'm doing, like I say, like a rotary pedal or a delay pedal, anything stereo that requires a lot of imaging. What I'll do is you guys can steal this idea if you make demo videos. In UA console, I'll pull up the plugin on one channel, and then once I get the tone dialed in and I like it, I'll copy it over to another channel. So inputs 1 and 2 on my UA interface, and I'll literally plug into like a delay pedal or whatever using, run into a buffer or something, and then into the delay, and then I'll split out of the delay right and left, and I'll go right into my UA interface right here on my desk. I've just got inputs 1 and 2 right over here, the high Z inputs with the identical amp sound on either side, and then I'll hard pan those. And now you got this like great, pristine, exactly the same amp on either side. And then when the pedal's doing its stereo thing and bouncing around, you get like this perfect imaging thing, and it just sounds humongous. And so that works really well for me. So I'll use the plugins for that. To me, it's like better than doing 2 amps almost in the real world. And it certainly is a lot easier. Let's see. There's somebody here. Zeb that says, check this out. I got a Marshall half stack for $100. That's cool. How'd that happen? Is it like at a yard sale or something? Somebody didn't know what they have. That's a good deal no matter what the Marshall half stack is. It could be a Marshall, one of those MIG ones or whatever, MG or whatever. Amps are getting so good, I have to put a tube screamer in front of a Marshall or it gets fizzy, in my opinion. Never thought I would say that, says Leo. Tube Screamer can be a great thing in front of a Marshall for sure. Does Pete have a video of Line 6 Helix, says ST Design? I do, actually. I think that video has a lot of, if you search on YouTube for Line 6 Helix and my name, it'll pop up. I think it's 400,000 views or something like that at this point, something like that. It's one of the first videos that came out for that product, I think. Jeff Sweet says, big brass block is not hype. Is that like for a Floyd Rose? Something like that? I haven't experimented much with that, to be honest, the different blocks on Floyd's. Let's see. Good advice here from Chris Schultz. He's giving Guitar Ninja some advice. If possible, take your head to a store and try out cabs. Speakers change the sound so much. I have disliked heads because of the speakers. Yeah, that's absolutely true. The speaker is 50% of the sound. You know, the amp and the guitar are 50%, and the speaker is the other 50%. That's the truth. Even Landau says that. He's like, people put all this time and thought in the amps and don't realize that the cabinet is like, it's totally true. And the same applies with IRs. As soon as you start switching IRs, it's like, whoa, it's like, you know, the massive EQ on your whole sound, I always say. That's what the speaker is. Thinking on getting the UA Apollo 8. What do I think of it? I love it. I have it right here. I've got an 8P in my rack, and I can't recommend them highly enough. I think it's a terrific interface. The plugins are second to none. They're rock solid. They just work. One thing you can't discount with UA is their plugin authorization and buying thing is flawless. It's so great, the authorization, and not having to deal with, you know, like iLocks, and I hate that shit so much. And, you know, there's other plugins that I love and I use, but their authentication and all that stuff when you're buying one and then switching systems, maybe going from your laptop to your, you know, it's just like the UA people have that dialed the way it should be, and it's just a painless experience. You know, my Waves plugins, I like Waves. I use a few of them. Big fan of the Greg Wells mixing plugin called what the hell's it called? Mix. Oh geez, I'm not gonna remember. It's a one knob Greg Wells, you know, mix thing that does multi-band compression, limiting the EQ, and it's really incredible. If I want to use it on my laptop, and if I want to use it on my studio computer, every time I go from one computer to the other, I have to move the plugin to the cloud, you know, with Waves Cloud or whatever the hell they call it. And then I got to go on the laptop and open up the cloud thing again. And now I authorize that plugin on my lap. It's like takes like 10 minutes, you know, on each end. And it's just like this thing that you own, you bought it. And it's like, but you can only use it on one computer at a time. You got to move it to the cloud every time. I mean, that's worse than iLock, which I hate too, but it's a key that then you got to plug in your USB port and you just pull it out and then plug it into the next computer. That's easier than using the cloud thing that you got to piss around with every time you move from computer to computer. It's so annoying. Good plugins. I mean, some of those Waves plugins are great. Always hated their upgrade bullshit, like where you buy the thing and you spend all this money, and then in 3 years you actually can't update it anymore. You have to pay $200 to like then get to the. It's so annoying, you know. Hopefully that stuff's all going by the wayside, and yeah, I do like the with plugins. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but the sort of subscription-based model that Slate does and some other people. Slate still has the iLock thing, which is it's a little frustrating, but his plugins are great. He's got they're really CPU efficient, and some great things about Slate plugins, and I've used them for a long time now. But you know, UA to me, they charge a premium, right? Like the plugin is expensive. Like, you know, I guess this deal today, I guess there's a deal on right now if anybody needs UA plugins. They've got a sale on right now, and you can get 4 for $3.99 or something. That's a pretty damn good deal. If you can get them for $100 each for a UA plugin, certain ones, that's a pretty smoking deal. So grab them if you can. But once you buy them, they're yours. That's it. They're authorized, you know. And if you move from computer to computer, if you've got an Apollo Twin for your laptop and a 8P for your studio computer like me or whatever, and you're moving around, they just work, you know. There's never an issue. So I love that, you know. It's a good thing. Okay. That was my rant about plugins. Let's see. Think of trying a brass nut on my Portcaster build for a change. That's evidently what Eddie did back in '78 on that original guitar. He had a brass nut and he used to use 3-in-1 oil on the nut. Talk amongst yourselves. Ever use Supro amps? Just bought a baby Supro because I heard Joe Perry for the first time. Oh, Joe Perry has one. Geez, I just made that up. Didn't say for the first time. It said Joe Perry has one in his backline, mic'd, and he uses it quite a bit, says Tim. I've played a little bit and heard them at NAMM, and I'm friends with the Bigtronics folks, which is the same people, that do Supro. And I actually really want to try one, like in my own studio, because they are totally different to anything that I've got here. Totally different than my PT15 or PT100 amps or anything like that. And it's sort of like, how can you go wrong? It seems like great low watt tube combo that you can crank up and get some great Zeppelin-y things out of. That's a cool thing no matter what. So you're reminding me I should contact him and see if I can get one over here of some sort. And my chat just jumped. So I'm moving around. I'm gonna have to just kind of back up a little bit here. Dark Starry says, "Hi Pete, what do you think of Steve Stein's daily guitar exercises? Alternate picking for 3 minutes to a metronome." I haven't tried that. Sounds interesting though. Maybe I should try it. Maybe post a link or something like that, and I'll check it out. I'm always looking for new things to practice. So, any plans on making any Helix presets for Line 6 Marketplace or to sell on your own? You're reminding me of something else I got to do, which is I did a demo recently for the Helix at Sweetwater at GearFest, and I want to put those presets up on Helix Marketplace. And my idea was to actually put the song up, maybe do a good mix of the song, just give it away for free. It's a 1-minute-and-30-second piece of music, and post it maybe in a YouTube video, and then also a link to the presets, because put them up in Helix Marketplace. I made these presets. They're kind of cool. They've got some neat things going on. The presets I use in the song. There's some stereo stuff that's like a fake sort of stereo split, so you can just play and it almost sounds like double tracked. There's some ones that use the snapshots so that you can get like go from like a univibe with echo solo sound to a octafuzz, like just by switching, and it sounds really cool. What else did I do? I've got one sound that's like that I used for it's the sort of placator with the Celestion IR, and it's like dirty rhythm, slightly lower gain dirty rhythm, and then a lead sound boosted with delay that boosts and is louder, and that's like one of the other snapshots all in one preset. So I think people might like them. I hope. So I might put those up on Helix Marketplace, I think. And the first sound that actually starts the song is a really cool kind of almost warped record sound where I'm using a univibe vibrato to kind of make it kind of like an uneven sort of, almost sounds like a lo-fi warped record sound. It's kind of cool. Dan says, reluctantly, again in the top chat, my friend. Thank you. He says, "Hi, Pete. Send me 5 of your best picks. I send you donations and you find the time to send me 5 awesome picks. I'll give you a shipping address." Well, I can't deny that you probably deserve picks at this point. Oh, geez, that is a lot you sent me in the top chat. Send me an email via my contact form on my website. I do think you deserve picks at this point, my friend. Make sure you say it's you though, because lately I've been getting these strange mails, and they sort of are disconcerting, where people are asking me for signed things, and I think it's just like eBay people. You know what I mean? I think they take them. It's like they sort of try and find people that they can get things signed by, and then it's like these kind of form sounding things almost, where it's like, "I'm a really big fan of yours. Can you please send me 10 guitar picks and sign these pictures?" And they'll send you. It's really strange. And I think it's like eBay stuff. But anyways, you're not that, and I know that. So you just hit me with the email contact form. And what else we got here, you guys? Let's see. Looking for questions. What's the best compressor pedal I recommend? That's from Francesco. Well, best is always relative, of course, but some of the ones that I really like and use, the Cali 76, awesome. The original one, the big one, really amazing sounding pedal. Hard to deny how good it sounds. The little one's cool too. I haven't actually directly A-B'd one, A-B'd them both. Something tells me the big one is really special, but I had the little one on my board for a long time because it's a pretty big commitment to put the big one on your pedal board. It is a big pedal. We got 407 people online. I do appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. This is another one I really like, the little SP from Exotic. This always works. Very happy with it. You got to just grab a compressor for a part. If I'm like doing a clean part in a pedal demo for a delay or something, like, oh, I need a compressor, I'll grab this and just plug it in. It sounds great always. It's a really nice small pedal. The Wampler, a mini Ego, is what I have on my board down there. That big pedal board has the Wampler. It's also very nice. It's got a high-end switch on it. That's nice because you can actually, add some highs and get back some of those highs that you lose sometimes when you use a traditional compression circuit. Sir Koji, in a similar way, has a really, really great, almost studio quality kind of sound to it. And it's got that high-end switch on it that lets you, it's just voiced beautifully. It lets you get this great sparkle to your compressed sound. So that's a bunch there. The Cali, the SP, the Wampler, Sir Koji. Those are some of my favorites that I've used over the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years or something. Check all those out. Jason Wade says, hey, my brother, love your videos. And mom says lunch is ready. Go eat lunch, dude. Get lunch. Don't keep mom waiting. Ever heard of Fraser Guitars? I don't think so. He's a custom builder from England building Strat and Tele copies. Any opinions? I haven't heard of them. Have not checked those out. Sorry. Craig says, have you had any experience with the Ampete or Driftwood Purple Nightmare amps? No, but I've got the Ampete switcher in here. I just got the remote. Check that out. So this allows me to switch amps and cabs right from my desk. You can just keep it over here and, put it on the desk. And then you're like, essentially with this guy, you're like just picking if it was on. I'm not going to go turn it on. But, you just type in, I want, 03 cab, and then I want amp number 2. And it'll switch to the second amp in the rack over there or whatever. So you can, if you're recording, you can just turn on all the amps and then quickly be switching and decide which one's right for the part. Pretty badass. Pete makes great stuff. He came to my birthday last week as well, which was fun. I had a fun, oh my God, my birthday party the other day was, we got together in Highland Park. And I mean, it was like so many great friends. And just, I was thinking like, God, can you imagine if we put some guitars and basses and drums in this room? It was drummers like Matt Logg, Randy Cook, Toss Panos. Who else was there that was amazing? I mean, it was like a room full of drummers as well as guitar players. Dweezil Zappa came. It was Tim Pierce, Laurie Basilio, Ariana Powell. Just all these terrific players. My buddy John Button was there. Why not Jansveld? So many great bass players. It was like a really great room full of musicians. A lot of fun. I felt honored that they would come out and have some beverages. Let's see. Thanks for answering my question and doing the chat, says Doofuzz. You bet. Yeah. And Scott's last CD was called Vibe Station. That's right. I said Voodoo Station, right? Vibe Station. Really, really good. It's heady, it's like his music's deep, but after you listen to it, it's cool because it grows on you after like 3 listens and you're like, oh man. And the tones are great. Really great guitar sounds on that Vibe Station record. But I guess let's check out his new album out tomorrow from Scott. Braxall says, do you think using all these steel and cobalt strings do damage to your frets? Well, they do. There's no doubt the cobalt ones eat frets more. I discovered that for sure because I used them, but they did sound kind of cool, the cobalt ones. But I'm back to using regular, just regular Ernie balls that are, like I say, 9.5 gauge is what I'm using now. And they work great. You know, I'm just comfortable with the good old Slinkies. And yeah, I don't know about steel strings. Maybe it would seem it's a harder alloy or whatever, right? But the Cobalt one, definitely, they got a reputation for kind of chewing frets a little more than some of them. What divided by 13 is that behind you? That one is a RSA 31, like an AC30. Great sounding amp, actually. And I started using it again recently. I've had it since 2004 or 5, maybe. I used that amp, actually. My amps on tour with Chris Cornell were that and a Comet. My Comet, which is over here, actually. Somewhere. Where is it? It's not over there. Where'd my Comet go? I don't know where it is. I think it's in the other room. I know it's here. But yeah, my Comet, same as the KF50. What's it called? The Concorde. Great amp. And then I added a 5150, actually. The 5153, which I would just use on the Blue channel for my dirty rhythm sound. So I used that amp a lot on tour, actually, that divided by. Really good sounding amp, just straight up AC30 top boost circuit, basically. That was my clean sound. Yeah. I have an FTR 37 as well. Any opinions on Bad Cat amps? I don't really have a lot of experience with them. I mean, the original Matchless, the DC30, that was a great amp, you know, so where it was born out of, but it all kind of comes from the AC30 thing, which I love. It is a great guitar sound. Definitely. Yeah. Rhett Scholl's here. What's up? How's it going? Oh, and you were the one actually asking about the divided by 13. Yeah, nice amps. Do you use those? I wonder. Fred's a great guy. He was a friend of mine, I mean, going way back. And he's a really cool character that I don't get to see much anymore. But I used to enjoy going down to see him, and I'd drive down when he had a shop in San Pedro. I think he's in Newport Beach now or something. But I used to like driving down there to see him. He had for a while it was in his garage, and then he was building amps out of his garage. And he was making amps for everybody. I mean, Billy Gibbons and every guitar player in LA, you know, had one, and he was just building out of his garage. It was really cool. And then he moved to the storefront in kind of the old part of San Pedro. And I remember he had like mannequins in the window of the storefront with divided by 13 t-shirts on and stuff. And it was just him and one other guy working in there. He's a good guy. Rich is in the top chat, and he says, idea, switch on a wah and or whammy pedal mid-solo only for a pick slide, just to make it really stand out. Would love to hear you do that sometime. It's always a great thing to just add an effect for a second. Eddie Van Halen was the master of that, of course. Hitting the flanger, and then the flanger went off after, right? Master of nailing an effect just for impact. It's a great thing. Leave it on all the time and it starts to sound normal, right? Okay. Moving down. Let's see. Bill says you are the benchmark to all things YouTube and guitar. Oh, thanks, man. I mean, I've got my benchmarks on YouTube that are, you know, I appreciate you saying that, though. I really do. There's so much great guitar stuff on YouTube, isn't there? Rhett's here. He's great. There's all kinds of great YouTube folks. Ben's here. I like that the YouTubers come in and, you know, we hang on each other's live streams and stuff like that, you know. And it's great to get together with the other YouTube folks as well, like doing those, you know, the GetCon and the Gearhead University and all those kinds of things. It's really fun to get together with all those people. It's like a different avenue of the music biz, but it's fun. Do you need a buffer when using a wireless system? No, generally not. I mean, you might need one at the end of your chain, maybe, depending on what's going on impedance-wise throughout your rig. But wireless, sort of by default, is buffered output. It's not a high impedance out. It's low impedance by the time it's coming out of the receiver. So generally speaking, no. Is the fast answer. Leo says he's got a bridge humbucker in his number one, which sounds not good by itself, but cuts in the mix so killer and sounds great with a band. Is this normal? Well, guitar by itself, as opposed to guitar in a mix, is always a different thing. You know, guitar by itself can sound gnarly, and then dropped in with bass and drums and cymbals and everything blaring, that thing that makes it cut can be the thing that gets you heard. So, to me, what sounds good in a mix always trumps, you know, what works on its own and sounds pleasant. You know, I learned that a long time ago. With an amp I had that sounded great on its own, and then in a mix it just kind of would tend to disappear a little bit. And then I heard, you know, that was around the same time I heard a real Marshall Plexi turned up and was like, oh my God, it's like the world's ending compared to my amp, you know. But that sound sort of bottled, mic'd, mixed, everything in a song, then ends up sounding like Jimi Hendrix or whatever, right? Because that's what, you know, that's how they got those sounds. It was wild and out of control and crazy sounding, and then you put it in a mix and it just, you know, it never is quite as, you know, it's not going to have the impact of when it was 120 dB and you were playing it in the room. So we always should remember that, you know, you tone down a guitar sound too much to sound really, I mean, I'm talking about crazy guitar sounds here. I'm not talking about, you know, mellow tones or whatever, that, you know, it's not the same thing. But for crazy rock and roll sounds, anything incorporating feedback and, you know, wild kind of riding that horse, you know, crazy bucking bronco kind of guitar sounds, you know what I'm saying? I don't know a better way to put it, but for anything like that, toning it down too much and trying to put that in a low volume, you know, friendly sounding, pleasant solution is never going to sound the same in a mix. It's not going to have the impact of, you know, when we heard Hendrix or Van Halen or anybody that was using, you know, or Brian May for that matter. Brian May is really fascinating because his sounds are so kind of refined, and yet there's a lot of feedback and squawk and crazy stuff going on, and you know those AC30s were cooking. So he just played them so magnificently, you know. Let's see. What do we think of the IK Multimedia Axe In and Out? I haven't tried that particular one, but they make good stuff, and I know some of those folks actually, and they make nice things. I remember liking their Hendrix. Having said what I just said about Hendrix, I remember liking their Hendrix AmpliTube pack, even though that's just completely, you know, contradicting myself. But it did sound good. More for the like kind of clean Fendery stuff. Actually, sounded really nice in the AmpliTube stuff. Yeah. You playing with anyone these days? I'm playing. I'm doing you know, not a hell of a lot actually. The guy I play with in Japan, Kyoshi Nagabuchi, is taking a year off music right now to kind of, well, I don't know about all year, but he's been making a movie, so he's doing that. So there was no Japan touring this year. I have been playing a bit with Ultimate Queen Celebration. That's why I learned all the Brian May stuff, which is Mark Martel. Amazing singer, and they're a really amazing band of musicians actually that perform Queen music really beautifully. So I'm doing that. I'm going out to a gig in like West Virginia in like a week and a half with them. So I sub for the guitar player Tristan Avakian that is the main guitar player in the gig, and I believe started it with the other guys. So I'm looking forward to that. But other than that, mainly I've got like coming up in August and September, it's mainly going to be a bunch of clinics. Like I think I might be over in Europe for 5 weeks, something like that, in the fall, late summer, early fall, just kind of doing my own clinic run, which is exciting. Like, you know, don't quote me on it yet, but it's looking like probably Spain, Italy, France, UK, you know, maybe Netherlands, all over the place there. Just kind of going around and showing the amp to people and doing my clinic on recording and production. So that's exciting. So that'll carry me through into the winter, and then we'll see what happens. So staying busy, that's for sure. just the YouTube thing too. Just keep. I've got so much work to get to here that it's actually kind of stressful. I have to make a lot of videos. Yeah. I love your new amp. I cannot figure out why it isn't a 40 or 50 watt, so it would work in a classic backline where only the vocals have a mic. Paul, you might find that it's loud enough. But if you want to wait for more power, there's definitely plans to make 40 to 50. So, that'll be the next thing. The demand, the reason why we put out the 15 first is there's a huge demand. I know there's a demand for 40 or 50 watts as well. There's a massive demand though, as compared to there's a modest demand for a 40 to 50 watt amp. There's a massive demand for 15 watts for lower power folks that want to play at home. They don't want all the juice. So that's just the way the market dictates. You see a lot of people moving in that direction, but also don't discount the fact that depending on the style of music you play and the volume you need. I mean, if you have a loud drummer, sure, you might need a 40 to 50 watt amp. But I did a gig with the PT15 at a local place here. First time I took it out, and Matt Starr was playing drums. He plays with Ace Frehley and Mr. Big. He's a pretty loud rock and roll drummer. And we had keys, bass, and it was great. I had it right at the limit of the headroom for sure, but it worked great. I was running it into the PA via the line out, got a little bit in the wedge in front of me, and had the rest just coming out of the cab. And I don't know, there's some videos on my Instagram of it and stuff. It sounded killer. So, try it first. And, if you get a chance to check it out in a store, crank it up and see if, you might be surprised. If you really need headroom, I mean, if it's like, I know what you're saying, it's like, it depends on the band and the music that you're playing, whether or not it would work for you in a live setting. But I think for many people, it's going to be one of those amps where you plug it in and turn it up to maybe the level you're comfortable with, and the sound guy comes up and goes, "You need to turn down." And even at 15 watts, that's the truth. So, yeah. Addicted to Gear says, that's a sweet telly. Don't seem to play it much in your videos. Well, I just use it in something. I used it in the, I believe it was the phaser or tremolo video I did for Walrus. I do use it quite a bit, actually. If I need a telly, that's the one I grab. So, this depends, I go through phases. The Mongoloid has asked me 5 or 6 times in caps, are you playing with anyone these days? But I did just answer that. So, all right. Okay. What else we got here? And the Boss DC2W, all that on the C2. Are the newer Boss CE2W and DC2W all that? Well, I mean, I love that CE2W Waza. That sounded great. Pretty much any of the Waza pedals are badass. That's my experience with them. Even the Metal Zone. The Metal Zone sounds great on the. It's really interesting to listen to the original Metal Zone setting, then switch it to the new custom voicing, and it just kicks its ass, in my opinion. Like, it's a totally different pedal. They do a great job on those pedals. I mean, the dimension is killer, and they're all good. The Blues Driver Waza is great. Great pedals. Yeah. Ever consider a burst finish for your signature, sir? Seems fitting because it combines what makes an LP and an S style. There's something about like maybe a sunburst, traditional kind of sunburst with a see-through, like non-figured top, but there's something about flames on Strats that I don't like. So that's the only thing. I don't really like quilted tops on Strat style guitars, quilted or flamed. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys feel the same or not, but love them on Les Pauls. But on, Fender style body shapes, it's never been my thing personally. I did like the guitar that I got the inspiration partially for my guitar was this. they called it the Mahogany. What do they call it? I can't remember. It was a Sur standard with 2 humbuckers and similar setup to my guitar, different neck shape and stuff, but it had a see-through top that was kind of a brown burst kind of thing, and it was really gorgeous. I wonder if anybody out there knows what I'm talking about, but Sur did they called it the Mahogany something or other, and it was a run they did around 2012 or 13. These really beautiful guitars, and I loved that guitar, and I went, oh God, I want one of these. And it looked nice on that guitar. It had a flamey top, as I remember, and it was really cool. But my guitar, I try and do more like a hot rod. I like the hot rod kind of colors and stuff. The black top with the red back, that was just like kind of understated, classy, but pretty rock and roll to me. And the gold top's classic. Just something about it. But I'm not saying I won't ever do it, and I do have an idea that is something that might surface down the road a little bit that'll have some sort of see-through top, but we'll see. What's your take on the Synergy amps with the preamp modules? Well, I'm going to make a video pretty soon for Synergy, and I'm going to use the Syn 1 and Syn 2, and I'm going to use it with my PT15. That's my plan for my video, to add channels to the amp. So we'll see. I have played them, and I think they do sound pretty damn good. I think that they're pretty good sounding, what I've heard. I tried the 30-watt amp, which is cathode bias, which I would have thought it maybe sounds squishier than what it sounded like to me. But with the Plexi module, it's the one with like the clean channel that has a volume, bass, and treble, I think, and that's it, like one simple clean. And then the 2-channel Plexi module and that little amp, that sounded really good. I thought it did sound quite good. But for my purposes, what I'm going to do here is mainly just using the modules with my amp, because I think that's an interesting thing that's maybe underappreciated about those amps is if you've got something like a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe or maybe a high gain amp that doesn't have a great clean channel, now you can add a channel to your amp. That's so in the case of like a Fender combo or whatever, if you don't have a great, now you can get a Soldano sound or B100 or whatever you want and add that to your Fender combo. That's kind of one of the most unique and interesting uses for their product to me, and maybe underappreciated. So I'm going to try and showcase that in a video. Somebody's up in the top chat. Who's that? It's XT. God, my eyes are so bad. XTFREM in the top chat, and he didn't ask a question. He just is doing the top chat because he's a good man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Greg Wells Mixcentric. That's the plugin I was talking about earlier. That's right. That's Keith. And I think I'm way back in the chat, aren't I? Looks like it. Yes, dude. Waves license manager is the worst, says Rhett. It's true. I agree with you, man. It's such a pain in the ass. And it's just like, come on. Like, I don't know. If you buy a plugin, I'd rather have them cost more, and just be easier to use, rather than this damn update plan, or either that or go to subscription-based model. I think it would be better. I'm going to go way down in the chat, guys. So if I missed your question, I'm really sorry. Please ask again because I'm so far behind. I'm going to start here with Ethan Ricks asking, has anybody ever played an Edwards Les Paul custom style guitar? I've tried them in Japan, and they're killer. Edwards, consistent. It's ESP. They make great guitars. So really, really nice. Wyatt Willis says 6 CA7's a possibility if you make a 50-watt. I've got the EH 6 CA7s in that Marshall right there, and I do quite like them a lot. And I like the EH EL34s too. Got those in I believe that's what's in my SL68 now. Really good sounding tubes. And the Marshall sounds, I think it was more to do with a preamp tube change I made in that amp, but at the same time it was retubed with 6 CA7s. Sounds great. So I would be happy to actually, I'd like to explore that. Maybe try the EH 6 CA7s in a PT 50 IR amp. That would be my wish. Give them a try. The Waza Dimension is killer, says Glenn. He's backing up my take on the Boss pedals. Play something, Pete, on the PT15. Well, I don't have it set up right now. To tell you the truth, I had it at the clinic yesterday. It's sitting in the hallway right now because I had it at the clinic in San Diego yesterday. And so I haven't plugged it back in yet. I had to run in here this morning because I was kind of late. Got home late last night after driving back from San Diego. If you use a 212 cab, which one is your go-to? Well, we've just made the new 212 for the PT15, which is a offset. Speakers are like this, and it looks like a baby 412. Love it. It sounds great. Monstrous sounding little cabinet. So really killer. Other than that, for the last few years, it's been the other one, which is a side-by-side, the PT 212 that came with the 100 with two H75 speakers, which is also a great sounding cabinet, I think. I've used those now for about 5 years as my main live cabinet. Yeah. Yeah. Mike says regarding the PT15 volume, he plays bass with a young hotshot guitar player. He has so many amps and has to take his smallest 112 combo to gigs. Even outdoors, 100 watts is too much. Yeah, these days, it's just the reality is there ain't a lot of people that are saying, like, I need 50. I mean, there is people. I mean, if you're Josh Smith or if you're, Landau, you're going to the gig with your big amp and you're getting to use that and nobody's going to get in your way. But as we all know, a lot of us have to deal with these low volume kind of gigs situations and where people don't want to deal with volume sound people. And so, and this is why we did the 15. And I wanted a 50 to come out first. I did, because it's what I would probably use live doing, like, Kyoshi doing arena tours and stuff like that. I like, having that extra headroom if I need it and all that stuff. But they just sort of, it was really the surf folks that were like, look, this is what the dealers and the people are screaming for. This is what we need. And we need it in our line. We need a low power, great sounding amp. And so we want to do that first. And I just finally said, okay, and then what really turned me around was John made a prototype about 5-6 years ago. It's going back to like 2014. He made a prototype of 6V6 power amp and put the PT channel 2 from the 100-watt amp in there in this little, funny little box that he made it. And it was amazing sounding. And I was like, this amp sounds ferocious, dude. Like, okay, if you can make one of these and if we can do it like a full amp, I can't argue with that. It's pretty great sounding. Because I had preconceived notion about, well, low power, it's going to be compromised. If you listen to the video I put out the other day, I think when I'm playing that Alice in Chains tone, you're not going to hear that and go, that's a 15-watt amp. Nobody's going to listen to that and think like, oh, it sounds small. It sounds monstrous to me. I mean, there's no, it's not a small sounding 15-watt amp. You have to just try it and be like, oh, like it's different than, I don't know. But that's John. He's a genius. He knows how to do it. What's my opinion of the Boss Katana? Good amps for the purpose. I mean, I think they've kind of hit it out of the park with those. It seems like if you want an amp for low dough under $300-400 or something, and something small, I think the big one, maybe not their target market, but obviously little ones and even the next tone ones, nice little amps that sound good, for the money. L Scott Music is here for a few seconds. I wonder if he's gone already, because that was a minute ago. What's up, Lauren? Good to see you, man. People sometimes think sensitivity in pro audio is comparable to that of home audio, but when the speakers are 100 dB combined sensitivity, which is about 10 times as sensitive. So that's a deep thought from Craig Flowers. Okay, I'm gonna move down a little bit here. Let's see. Which cab were you using yesterday? Yesterday I used the PT15 cab, the new one at the clinic. Greenback in the top, V30 in the bottom, and kind of a diagonal pattern. Okay. Like transparent finishes on Strats, though. I do too. I just don't like bursty, flamey finishes, but I like bursty, plain finishes. 54 Strad or whatever, that ash body, that looks beautiful to me. Do you have an original Fender Telecaster? It's SD design. This one. '66. Last year lacquer. Oh no, '67's last year lacquer. That's right. But this is, you know, you see the lacquer's all worn off the neck and stuff in good spots. It's a great guitar. Only thing I had to do to this guitar was pickups, because the pickups that it came with, as folks know, if you've ever played these mid-60s tellies, a lot of times the base plate on the bridge pickup can warp and it causes microphonic issues, and then the pickup just squeals and howls with any kind of gain at all. Get an overdrive pedal in front of a clean amp and it starts squeaking. So that's not good. And the neck pickup was intermittent. It's maybe got a broken wind somewhere. And Sir said he thought maybe he could fix it without having to rewind. But anyway, Ron Ellis made me a set of pickups for this guitar because I heard so much about his telly pickups. And it just sounds incredible now. The pickups he made are, you couldn't have asked for more. So that's all that was done to that guitar. And it was refretted by the dealer before I bought it. So it's got nice frets in it and stuff too. But great guitar. Yeah, Les Caster says, despite trying to look luxurious, which I like that word, that's good, on a Strat, it somehow cheapens the look. I agree. A flamey Strat, you know, okay, we can see the sort of mid-80s Valley Arts Steve Lukather guitar and go, that looks great. I like that. That quilt, I think the whole body was maple on that guitar, maybe. It's not just the top, right? That worked. EMGs, Gold Floyd, I'm all in that guitar. But that's just because that was something from my youth, I think, that I love the look of that guitar. But other than that, kind of quilty tops on Strats, I don't know. This just doesn't work for me. Mahogany Deluxe Standard. The Mahogany Deluxe, Chris Cam says, I think that's the guitar that that looked really great to me. So that's it had a tight flame kind of top on it, and with this really beautiful kind of brown burst and gold hardware, and that guitar looked in a similar way, maybe maybe a little less than the Valley Arts Steve Lukather model, but the Mahogany Deluxe Sir, Google that and you'll find a photo of it. Sir Mahogany Deluxe Standard. You'll see it's a really nice looking guitar. That was one of the guitars that kind of, you know, where I was like, wow, I really like this 2-humbucker Sir Standard thing. Combined with my memory of like seeing Peter Frampton with Pensa Sirs. Maybe in the late 80s. Frampton, as well as Mark Knopfler. There's a picture you can find of Mark Knopfler with a black Pensa Sir with the standard shape. And my memory of that guitar was it was so classy looking and stuff. And that's what I was really going off memory more than anything. But I did find the picture again years later, like recently, of Mark with that guitar. And I just loved the look. And that was really some of those things were the influence for my signature guitar. Yeah, okay. Moving down, it's about 12:30. So I'm gonna go till 1 or so today, I think. Flames look a little out of place on a Strat body, but I think they're neat, if a little unconventional looking. Yeah, maybe it's the thing like with the Valley Arts guitar, you know, the Lukather Valley Arts, because it had the EMGs and the gold Floyd, and then it kind of worked. Because it wasn't like flames on a traditional Strat, you know. Anytime I see flames on a traditional Strat, I think of those photo flame cheap Fender Strats that were kind of like trying to jump on that bandwagon. And I don't know, it just looks weird to me. Best overdrive for Telecaster and amp Fender Blues Deluxe. Well, there is no best, but I'm an Archer fan. You know, I like Klons. So that would be a cool choice. Something like a Klon and a Jan Ray or Timmy type or something like that. Probably hard to go wrong with that. I am doing a demo right now for the 6 pedal from Tsakoulis. I hope I'm saying that right. Let me give him some love. I'll show you this pedal right now. This is an interesting pedal where this is a fellow from, I guess he's from Greece, and I've done some videos for his pedals before. It's got a whole bunch of different overdrive settings here, slightly different variations of overdrive and distortion settings. And what he's doing is kind of going for the Timmy, King of Tone, that style of pedal, and then he made some tweaks and did his own thing with some voicing variations and stuff like that. And this is a really, really good sounding pedal. So you'll hear this, you know, that natural kind of drive. If you think King of Tone and Timmy, cool pedal. So I'm working on that now. I need to invest in a new EQ pedal. Any sleeper EQ deals out there? Says Mute That Bozo. I don't have a lot of EQ pedals, but the some of my favorites are, you know, the MXRs are hard to beat. The MXR 10 band is a great thing to have. It works well in an effects loop as well as in front. And it's got a gain slider on it to boost. The good old Boss EQ. So it's good enough for Gilmore, you know. XIFR, I believe EM says, thanks for doing these, Pete. Always enjoy listening. And thank you, man. Appreciate it. And thanks for doing the top chat. Very good of you. Appreciate it. Okay. What else we got here? Looking for questions. You guys are talking amongst yourselves, which I always like. But I got a page down, find some questions. All the way at the end now. Sorry, guys. Just one sec. Oh, another 15 watt sounds great. Live amp, Jeff Beck with a Fender Pro Junior. That's true. I think he would use the Marshalls live a lot recently with a Pro Junior, but the Pro Junior was what was mic'd in the PA. I find that fascinating. He made it work, that's for sure. Brett says that Sir Pete Thorn signature guitar indeed looked like a real nice guitar. Thanks. More to come soon. You will see. Yeah. Let's see. Ian says he has a Fender Pawnshop 72, and the neck is also pretty squealy with moderate gain. Humbucker and not in plate like your Telly base plate. I see. Time for a new pickup. Any suggestions? What is it? A Fender Pawnshop 72. What kind of neck pickup is it? I wonder. I mean, I want medium to high gain. You know, probably in single coils. I'm sorry, I just don't know what's in that guitar. Let me take a look so that I know what we're talking about here. Anybody got any ideas? Pawnshop 72 Fender. Let me see here. Fender Pawnshop 72. What is that guitar? Oh, it looks like it's a combination of, it's humbuckers, no? Fender Pawnshop 51. Fender Pawnshop 7. It's humbuckers. 2 humbuckers. Thornbuckers, dude. That's what you want. Yeah, it's 2 humbuckers. Looks like it's got a one of those original it's got an F hole, and it looks like a Strat, but with telly kind of controls, but 2 humbuckers. With that, the only thing is the hole in the pickguard might be kind of big for a it's got 4 screws. You might have to get a pickguard made, is what I'm thinking. Yeah, because it's got one of those original like Telly sort of what I guess they were on the Telly Deluxe, maybe the Seth Lover designed humbuckers with the 3 screws and the 3 screws, and then you got 4 pickup adjustment screws. So you're going to need to get a new pickguard made for your guitar, but a competent tech should be able to do that. You're going to have to do that with replace that pickup at all with any pickup. Duncan might have a pickup like that. There might be but your pickup choice is going to be extremely limited if you stick with the original pickguard. If you get a new pickguard cut by a good tech, you'll have some options. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna page down to the bottom of the chat here, get all the way to the end, and see if anybody else has got any questions. Let's see. Rick and Pete, how are you going to do your live streams at the same time? I saw that. Rick started a stream. Damn it, Rick. Rick's great. I'm sure some people cut out to go see him. But I've been doing them at 11 on Sundays forever. So I'm going to stick with that because it's a consistency thing. Everybody knows when it is. Let's see. Mr. Need, Colvin Need, I think, has a 74 Guild S100, very Kim Thayil there, in black, very good condition, looking to give it to Kim as a gift. I don't need to speak with him. Just looking for someone to be the middleman. Any ideas? I don't have any contact for Kim. I've met Kim a few times. He's very nice. I remember him coming in 2009 to a Seattle Chris Cornell gig, and I met him backstage before, and he knew Chris was a sober guy, and we tried to not have any alcohol backstage and stuff like that at the gigs. And he was drinking a Heineken, I remember, and then he was very concerned, I remember, with where he put the empty after he was done. And he was like, "What? Where should I throw this out? I don't want to make any waves, you know." And I was like, "Oh, dude, just throw it in the garbage can. Right? I'm sure it's fine." He goes, "No, no, no." And I remember what he did. He put it behind the door. There was an open door to the dressing room, and he stuck it behind the door. And he's like, "I'm going to put it here until I figure out where I can throw it out where nobody will see it." Very sweet guy, you know. He was really, really kind. And then I also remember he was standing on the side of the stage watching a lot of the show, and Chris would do his 4 or 5 songs acoustic in the middle of the show, and I went over to him to say hi and say, like, "So are you having fun? Like, what do you think?" You know. And he was having a great time. I guess maybe he hadn't thought a lot about maybe how people perceive Soundgarden music anymore in 2009. And Chris started playing Fell on Black Days. And I remember, you know, there was a big old crowd response. He was like, wow, they still love this song. They love this music. You know, wow, listen, he's playing Fell on Black Days and everybody's going nuts. So that was a cool moment, I remember. And he struck me as a really sweet guy. And then the next time I saw him was when they'd gotten back together, and it was 2013. And they did that. There's that show out now. It's the Soundgarden Live from the Artists Den or something it's called. And it was like at the Wiltern. They did a run of shows at the Wiltern, maybe 3 nights. And they filmed the last one, and that concert's out now. You can watch it. It's like streaming. And so anyway, that night I remember afterwards seeing him, and he recognized me from, you know, a few years earlier, and he called me by name. He's like, "Oh, Pete, what's up? Hey, good to see you," you know. And I saw him at the party afterwards, after the gig that was in downtown LA. And he struck me as very genuine, like, cool, really, really nice person. But anyway, Guild S100, you want to get it to him. That's the last time I saw him in 2013. I don't have any contact with them or anything like that. But you know, I hope to find somebody that can sort that out. In my opinion, you know, your best, if you want to find him, maybe the avenue is contact like Emerald City Guitars in Seattle, maybe, because he's a Seattle guy, and he probably, maybe, you know, I would think a store like Emerald City, it's a great vintage store in Seattle that has a great selection. Maybe there's somebody that works there, the owner or something, that knows, you know, because Seattle's kind of tight knit, I think. You know, kind of it's a everybody kind of seems to know everybody there. So maybe you contact them and ask them. That would be my suggestion. They'll probably know somebody that knows him or something. Maybe you could ship it to the store and just, I don't know. I'm being presumptuous, but that might be an angle you could explore. Okay. What else we got here? Yeah. Paging down. I remember Soundgarden doing their version of Come Together. Did you ever do that with Chris Cornell? No, I don't think we ever played Come Together. We used to do a lot of covers, though. I mean, we would do like Whole Lot of Love and Immigrant. We did a lot of Zeppelin. He loved playing Zeppelin songs. Yeah. Are you getting an Aura? There's an Aura that is slightly off spec. It doesn't have the tummy cut, and a couple other things a little bit different. And it's there at Sir, and John swears that that's mine. He's going to finish it for me, but he's trying to finish the 100 that you know, all the dealers have on order, and people are waiting for it because it's taking a long time to get them done. But he insists on finishing them himself and making them. You know, he can only do a couple, 3 a week because he's works his ass off on those guitars. He goes in on Saturdays, and I'm like, dude, you gotta take a break sometimes, you know. But he works so hard, and he spends a long time on every guitar, and he won't compromise that. So, anyways, there's this one that's at the shop that he swears is mine, but of course he's got to finish to do the fretwork and stuff on it. And And I'm like, maybe in a couple of years or something, once he's done, he's got, in other words, he's got paying customers that are, are waiting for the guitars, and he's got to get all those guitars done and out to them. So we'll see someday, maybe, maybe, gonna jump on the motorcycle, says Leo, take a ride to the top of the mountains. That sounds good, dude. Get outside and enjoy. Yeah. Docky C says, I just saw Kim and Ben at the Seattle premiere of Soundgarden live from the Artist Den last week at the Showbox. That's cool. They were walking around talking to everyone. Very nice guys. Yeah, that's my impression of them. Ben owns a bar, if he still has it. He owns a bar in, I'm not going to remember the neighborhood. It's that hipster neighborhood, kind of like north part of Seattle. Somebody else might know here. Great bar. Great kind of cocktail bar. A lot of fun. And I remember he was there. I remember seeing him there one night well before. It was when I was playing with Melissa Etheridge, actually. I might have been introduced to him that night. I can't remember. But really great bar. It's just kind of that, Seattle's like I say, it's tight knit. I'll give you an example. When Kim came to the gig in 2009, actually, later that night after the gig, he was hanging with Chris DeGarmo from Queensryche. And it was like they were buddies. And I love that the guy from Queensryche and the guy from Soundgarden were friends and knew each other. Because they're so different, those bands, and you would think, oh, they probably and actually Chris wasn't in Queensryche anymore. He was like, at that point, he's been flying planes forever. He's a pilot. So, but he was very nice as well. It's just kind of a cool scene. Like I said, I'm pretty sure if you contact some stores in Seattle, and Emerald City would probably be the one I would ask, but it's like, hey, I'm looking to get in touch with this guy to get him this guitar. There would probably be a way to do it. He does love those guitars, doesn't he? That was always his main thing. Metalhead Hippie says, buy a pack of picks on me, the cheap ones. He's in the top chat. Thanks, man. You're too kind. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Diego says, how does that amp switcher maintain the impedance for tube amps that aren't selected? It doesn't. So I've got everything at 8. On my cabinet's 8. Pretty easy these days, though. Just switch everything to 8 ohms and away you go. A one-way mismatch going up is not bad. So if you've got, if it's at 8 and it's a 4 ohm amp, so my basement is that. My Fender basement here is 4 ohms, and the cab is 8. It doesn't do any impedance matching. It just connects the head to the cabinet at the other end. So whatever your cabinet is the final determination of what, so the one-way mismatch, though, 4 to 8 is no big deal. So that's the way that works. But there is a way around that, which is you can see I've got my power station sitting here. So the sur-reactive load is right here. The aux is right here, and the power station is right here. Those are all hooked up to cab sends on the amp switcher. So cab 1 is the reactive load, 2 is the aux, and 3 is the power station. So why am I doing that? Well, I'm running through the power station because I've got a cabinet mic'd out in the other room now, and I want to be able to control the volume sometimes going to that cabinet. If I'm using my 15 watt amp or a lower watt amp, it's fine. But I don't have my cab room built yet officially. There's just a door on the room, and then I've got it isolated using some clear sonic baffles and stuff in the other room. You can kind of see it in the latest PT15 video I did for channel 2. You can see I've got the baffles around the amp, and I just close up the top, and it's in another room with the door closed. It's quiet enough that it works, but I'm not the only one in this building, so I don't want to piss people off, number one. Until I build that room out and actually have an isolated situation in there, that's my solution. So 15 watts is fine. Anything above that, I'll kick on the power station is my thinking, and use the volume on the power station to attenuate and just keep it at a reasonable volume. Now, the power station, because it's a load and reamp, allows you to switch between 4, 8, and 16 on the input, and 4, 8, and 16 on the cab send. So now I can actually match impedance to the amps, now that I think about it. All I would have to do is select my basement on the amp switcher, select the power station output, which is then running through to the cab up there, and I would select the input on the power station for 4 ohms for the basement and the output as 8. Now, if I want to use the aux or the reactive load, they're fixed 8 ohm loads. They don't switch between, they're oh wait, the aux does multiple impedances too, doesn't it? Right? On the back, there's an impedance switch. So there you go. With both the aux and the power station, I can switch if I want to. But the only issue I have with the impedance matching here, the only amp that's different is the Fender, the basement. So that's the only time I would run into needing to do this. And everything else is set at 8. That's why I'm not even really thinking about this that much. I just put everything at 8 and it's fine. I guess if I use the basement, I'll switch the power station to 4 or the aux to 4, and then I can use them as they were designed to be used. Okay, that's enough about that. What else? What else? What else, you guys? I'm gonna split soon. It's about 12:54. Maybe I'll go over to Rick's live stream in a bit and hang over there, see what's going on. Marshall Origin 20 combo says Rick is a good amp used under $500. Probably pretty good, yeah. I think Chris DeGarmo played with Cantrell some, says Ethan. That's interesting. Very interesting. Jerry lives around here. He lives in LA. Not too far away from where I am right now, actually. Let's see. What else have we got here? What else we got? Saw Melissa Etheridge with Pat Benatar and the awesome Neil Giraldo, of course, just the other night. Still out there killing it. Last time I saw Pat Benatar with Neil, they were killing it. They sounded just great. Neil's a great guitar player. I've always liked his guitar playing. Plays the right cool parts for the song. He's just a cool rock and roll guitar player for sure. And Melissa always kills it. She's great. Adam's in the top chat. He says, for Pete's cab room piggy bank. Oh, thank you. Thanks for doing the top chat, sir. Yeah, we got to get it built out. But the problem has more been that we've got a guy that said he would do it and for a really reasonable price. And he's actually a studio builder, but it's just trying to nail him down on a time to come do it. And I'm actually, to be honest, very satisfied with what you can hear it in the PT100 or PT15 channel 2 video. That was the first video I did where I mic'd a cab in there with the setup I've got right now. Because the other day I was just like, screw it, I got to get this going. I ran some mic cable. I do have 2 walls between me and the other room. I'm very isolated from it, so that's not the problem. The problem is just there's other people in the building and I don't want to crank it up too loud. But for what it is, I was like, when I isolate it with those, I've got that Clear Sonic amp kit thing with the Sorber baffles that go around it, and then I close up the top. You can't hear it, like really in other parts of the building. As long as I keep the volume at a reasonable, it's working great. So I've got a mic cab set up now. It works good. If it was up to me, I would have the baffle around it and a hard floor surface. And right now it's carpet on the floor in there, so it's very dead, but sounds great, So when I build the room, it'll have I'll use laminate wood flooring or something like that, and then have the walls be soft stuff, and then it'll get a little bit of reflection off the floor, but that's down the road whenever we get to it. Let's see. Bam Mozzie says, loved Queensryche, but few actually know them until you mentioned Silent Lucidity. True. Empire was a great album. That album was so big. Like when you think about it, in the early 90s, it was huge. And Operation Mindcrime. I should go back and listen to those records. I like the one before. What was it called? Rage for Order or something like that. Remember that album? They're a unique band. I want to go back and listen. The Empire thing, when they got more commercial sounding, almost was the least interesting period for me. But the Mindcrime album and the one before that were really interesting. Like that, the sound of those records and stuff, they were just good. And Jeff Tate was this, amazing singer. Robert Baker, what's up, dude? He says, what year is your 335? It's a 63. 1963. The Hazelwood is in Ballard. That's right. That's Ben Shepherd's bar. Thank you. Got it. I love that I can ask anything on here and you guys will figure it out and know. That's Krell Bar. The Hazelwood in Old Ballard, Ben Shepherd's bar. Yeah, really nice bar. Nice time. Fun times. If you're in Seattle, go check out that place. Yeah. Craig says that he pre-ordered the Ibanez Vemram 808 pedal and 40th anniversary 808 since they're limited and sold out already. Best tones use with my BE100 or Dirty Shirley 40. Good for rock metal too, or mostly clean rock. No, I mean like a classic thing is to run a tube screamer in front of a high gain amp to tighten it up. So you'll have to give them a try, but and see what you think. But just experiment with getting unity gain at least out of the pedal, because the output on a tube screamer type isn't always that. Get the volume up a little bit, and then start with the gain down and the tone on half or lower. And then, make sure when you turn on the pedal, it's not dropping your level at all. Maybe check it with your clean sound. So when you turn on the pedal, I hate when tube screamers do the drop-in volume thing. I don't want it to neuter my straight guitar sound going into the amp. So get the output up, drive it a bit. When the pedal's on, make sure it's at least the same volume, if not boosting a bit into the amp, just the sheer output. Then bring up the level a bit, and then go to your gain channel and listen. Tell me what you hear. Should do a pretty cool thing, like tighten up the bottom end a bit and give you a bit more drive. The Vemorem had a bit fuller sound than most tube screamers I've tried, a bit more natural. It almost has a cross. A Jan Ray can sound good into a dirty amp too. That's interesting. So it almost had as much Jan Ray as tube screamer going on to me in the tone. I remember years ago Dave Friedman trying a Jan Ray in front of a dirty amp, going, "That's cool. Like, it does a cool thing. It's different. I like it." He was a fan of it. Anyway, and Rick's in Seattle, and he says he's going to go fishing. He probably left already. I like all the Seattle talk today. Nice place. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Christy Garmo did play with Jerry on the Boggy Depot tour. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Saw them both in Seattle years ago. Okay. Let's see. Looking through some comments here, just picking out stuff. Questions. It's hard sometimes because the chat's full of you guys talking, which is great. Not complaining. It's awesome, but I just look for questions and stuff. Sorry for the lull. Other than EVH, what would any influences from the 80s? At the time, Vi could do no wrong, in my opinion, even with Whitesnake. Whitesnake Vi is my sort of least favorite Vi. That's just me personally. But my influences from the 80s are far and wide, because that's when I really grew up playing, Vi was big. Satriani was big for me because of his melodicism and songwriting. I felt like there was no better instrumental rock guitar player songwriting wise, especially at that time. Surfing with the Alien to me was understated in its production, and kind of, just probably out of necessity, because he needed to get that record done quick, and kind of made it after hours, and it wasn't overbaked, you know what I mean? And it had a unique, almost sort of weird home studio quality to it, or something, for lack of a better, I don't know. Does that make sense? Anyways, Satriani, Eric Johnson for me, Paul Gilbert I was a big fan of, and I like listen to a lot of that stuff, like Mr. Big and stuff like that. I like the songs, But besides that, I really enjoyed like the Pretenders, and I really loved ZZ Top in the early 80s. Billy Gibbons, I was listening to them a lot, and I loved their just, I don't know, they were just a wacky band. Like, I got into them around the El Loco album, right before the Eliminator period and stuff, and they were just really cool to me. So I don't know, what else was I listening to then for guitar players? Yngwie came out, and he, of course, everybody was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." So there was that whole thing, but it was sort of unattainable. I don't know, unless you really practiced that style, and then you were Chris Impellitteri or something, So it didn't seem like, I didn't want to go down that road. Not that there's anything wrong with Chris, but it was like, neoclassical shred. I don't know. It wasn't really my thing. There's some of the great guitar players. Some of the Canadian guys, I was listening to the bands like the Headpins and Honeymoon Suite. Those are the things I heard a lot on Canadian radio growing up. And so what's his name? Derry from Honeymoon Suite, Headpins, Brian Too Loud McLeod. That was like, I was hearing these Canadian guitar players that maybe some of you guys that aren't from Canada aren't familiar with. Kim Mitchell, to me, I always loved his guitar playing. But the 80s was such an explosive time. Richie Kotzen, guys like that coming out, just blowing everybody's minds. They were so young, and Shrapnel, putting out all these guitar records. Pete, can you tell us a little about your EVH Wolfgang, and can we see it? That's David. I think it's hanging over here. Where is it? Oh, there it is, way in the back here. So this guitar is a great guitar, basswood body. It's one of the original ones. It's got small frets. Obviously, a really beautiful top on it. And it's maple cap. I don't play it enough. Since it's in drop C sharp right now, I think. But when I pick up this guitar and I play it, when I think, oh, that guitar would be the right one for this track, it always is. It's got a unique sound. It's got a great heavy sound with these pickups in it. And I got the guitar. It's got a cool story because I did get it from Ed and Matt Bruck around 2009. I had become friends with Ed, and these guitars had just come out sometime right around then, I think. And I knew Matt as well, and we had some correspondence, and I can't remember exactly even how it happened, but I said I'd love to check out, one of those guitars. They look amazing, and I never had one of the PV versions or anything like that. And they just made it happen. And one day Matt said, "Your guitar is up at 5150," and I drove up there, and they handed me the case. It was really cool. So that's this guitar, but anyway, it's got one of those beautiful quilt tops on it and stuff, and it's just a heavy, badass sounding guitar. And videos I've done for Ed, for the things like his chorus pedal recently and stuff, I always want to use this guitar, just because it's the right thing to use, in my opinion. And so I'll use this one a lot. I remember played Cathedral on this guitar in that video. It's just a great sounding guitar. The pots, it's got those low friction pots, which I really like, actually. They're just this great feel to them, kind of unique, and doing the drop D thing, of course, with the D-Tuna works great. It sounds really good. I flipped the switch on it, so the down is the bridge. I just went in and rotated the switch in the back, But other than that, it's basically stock. I would like to maybe explore doing frets on it, because that's the one thing. The little frets are a little weird for me, but they don't feel bad. It's very playable. I took it out and used it a little bit with Melissa Etheridge, actually. I used it on tour a little bit when I was playing with her. Mike is in the top chat, and he says, caught a lot of crap on the gear page for suggesting NOS in the PT15. Still plan to do it. They either sound better or not. My only recommendation, just out of concern for your tubes, Mike, is make sure because there's fairly high voltage in the amp, so make sure that the tubes will handle the plate voltage. You might want to ask John. Just maybe he'll answer you in the PT15 thread if you say, would these tubes be safe? And you just want to be careful, because I wouldn't want you to cook your nice 6v6s. The JJs, they're really robust. That's a great thing about the JJ 6v6. It's a good sounding tube, kind of one of the better sounding 6v6s ever made, I think. Kind of a cross between 6v6 and 6L, I guess, but it's got its own thing going on. But it is a really, really reliable tube. In the preamp, go for it. Put something nice in V1, just low noise, because it is a high gain amp and stuff. And so, you might experience more so than in a plexi or something, because there's another gain stage and stuff. You might experience on the dirty side, if it's a noisy tube at all or microphonic, it can be problematic. But go ahead, experiment with the preamp tubes. It's just my experience. NOS tubes in higher gain modern amps, they're built around the new tubes, and all this. You got the crap already. Hopefully you didn't catch too much crap, but the amps that seem to benefit the most from new old stock tubes, to me, are certainly old, very simple, sort of lower gain amplifier designs, where it's maybe a little bit of a, like real simple circuit. But yeah, go for it. I've run new old stock in PT100s just in V1. The first tube I've occasionally replaced, because it does make that tube makes a pretty big difference in a PT100. I've found, like, a JJ is the most easy to ship tube in that position, but I don't like them. And I'll hear it right away. It'll be like, why does this amp sound darker than I'm used to? And I'll look, and there'll be a JJ, and somebody will put a JJ in the first position on one of them. I'm just not a fan of that tube. But anyway, thanks for doing the top chat, Mike. I do appreciate it. Craig says Friedman mentioned in Tone Talk how important it is to bias at 120 volts or less. Most oversee this, and incoming power being over 120 volts. He said a brown box is great. Yeah, so the brown box is a device that, especially on your vintage amps, will lower the voltage to 110, I think, and kind of it's like a voltage regulator that holds it at 110, which is great on an old amplifier. And yeah, bias the amp for the voltage for sure. If you don't use the brown box and your amp's biased, you're gonna have a problem, maybe potentially, if you plug into a regular outlet without the brown box and you're seeing 122 volts and your amp was biased at 110. So this is an important thing. The bias is, I'm not an amp tech, but it makes sense, right? The voltage, if the voltage is 100 volts and you set the amp at that, all of a sudden you crank up the voltage, well, now the bias is hotter. So make sure you, number one, if you got a vintage amp, brown box is a nice thing. And number two, bias for that voltage, and then don't change. Yeah, okay. Damn chat. I was just gonna ask a question and the chat jumped. I hate that. Let's see. Looking around. Shiny Beast got blocked, but he said JJ's 12X7 suck, and I'm gonna approve that comment. I'm not a fan of them. Although people say the long plate one sounds really good, so I'd like to try that. Different tube, different design. Hi Pete, if I want to connect my HX Stomp directly to the PA, do I need a separate DI box? What do you suggest? That's Samuel. Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be good to come out of the 1/4-inch outs into like a DI or something. You could use a radial, use some kind of radial DI. If you've just got a small PA setup or whatever, like I said, a little gig or something like that, you could probably come 1/4-inch out right into a line input on if you got a little Mackie board or Yamaha or something like that, you could probably do that. But yeah, if you want to, technically, especially if the board is located back somewhere and it's far away, go into a DI, run low impedance all the way, and be better, I would think. Yeah. Okay. Not going to change the power tube, says Mike. Just a breeze. Yeah, mess around with it. The first tube would be probably the main one to play with. I haven't done it, by the way. I've just stuck with we use the tested Chinese tubes in there, and it sounds great. So, never understood how the D-Tuna doesn't throw off all the other strings on the Floyd like drop tuning does normally, says Nick. Well, Eddie's guitars don't float, and the neck is maple with a maple cap. Well, some of the newer ones have ebony and different fingerboards, but if you've got a stiff maple neck and a non-floating bridge that's decked, you can get away with drop D without the bridge. The problem isn't the bridge moving at that point; it's the neck shifting a little bit when you drop. But it's so close that it's like. So you're absolutely right. You normally wouldn't be able to do that if you had a floating bridge. The D-Tuna would not work. But if you deck the tremolos, I mean, it's like flat, flush against the body, so it only goes down. That's how it works. Hope that explains that. You're probably like, oh, I had no idea, because you're right. Most people don't do that, but Eddie always did. Eddie's tremolos always only went down. He never had any pull up on the tremolos. And I remember showing him one of my guitars once that actually had a floating bridge on it. He goes, "Oh, I hate that." He's like, "How can you put your hand on it and it all goes out of tune?" Oh God, I hate that. So he doesn't like, it was my Sir with the Floyd with no fine tuners on it, and it's routed out underneath. It's not his thing. He was like not having it. Didn't like it. Anyways, blah blah blah. Have you come across Ariel Posen? Great young Canadian guitar player. Great guitar player. I agree. Yes, I believe he plays PT100s too. Great guitar player. Thoughts on Jeff Beck? One of my favorites. I was listening to Wired earlier today. My personal favorite guitarist. Yeah, the most vocal sounding guitar player, and really incredible, amazing style that doesn't sound like anybody. It's him instantly. Closest probably would be that I can say to Jeff is not stylistically necessarily, but Landau kind of reminds me of, because he can communicate through the guitar at least as well as Jeff Beck, if maybe not even more so. Well, Jeff Beck's amazing. I think Landau is like, his vocabulary is so wide of tones and just guitar in general. He speaks through the guitar like nobody. I think Jeff and him are the premier communicators. That's all I can say about that. But also Scott Henderson, he has kind of a Beck sort of approach, and he's really wonderful. Yeah, okay. It's 1:14 already. Wow, I went another 15 minutes beyond what I think I'm going to split pretty soon. But did Eddie play anything that blew you away? You mean me and the seeing? I mean, everything he played blew me away pretty much when I first got introduced to him and heard Van Halen. It was like everybody was like, "What the hell is that?" It's like the world's ending on the guitar. It sounded amazing. So always incredible. Always incredible. But have you ever met John Resnick of Goo Goo Dolls? ST Design says yes. I toured with Goo Goo Dolls, not in the band, but I was with the Five for Fighting, and we opened for them for a month, maybe 6 weeks, in late 2001, early 2002, something like that. I did a long tour with Goo Goo Dolls, so spent a long time with those guys out on the road. That's how I became friends with actually like Jason Freese, great keyboard player, was playing keys with them then, and we're still friends, good friends. Greg Saran, another guitar player who I did a couple tours with afterwards, he was playing second guitar with them back then. Actually, my friend Brad Fernquist, who's from Calgary, Alberta, has played in Goo Goo Dolls ever since Greg left around 2005 or 6. So Brad's been playing second guitar in Goo Goo Dolls for about 14 years now, something like that. So I've got connections with those guys. They were good guys. Always had fun with them on that tour. They were cool. Bass player's a real sweet dude. Landau's board had some pretty obscene sounding labels for the settings on his Bradshaw, I'm sure. Oh man, all those guys. Yeah. Thanks, man. I have a big gig, so the Radial DI would be perfect, says Samuel. You bet, man. It's hard to go wrong with Radial. They make great products. Up from my born homeland of Canada. Yeah. I grew up on a Floyd Rose guitar, but after a long time without it, then trying one, the fact bending a note throws the others off is kind of annoying. Maybe Evertune is the answer with whammy. Do they make an Evertune with a whammy? I don't think that's possible. I think it's just a fixed bridge, isn't it? That's Mike Jones asking that question. I'm not 100% sure. Does anybody out there knows their Evertune with a whammy? There's options for this. The trim setter, I think it's called, is a way that you can. That's this crazy device with a spring, and you'd have to adjust it in the back, but it does kind of work. Allows you to do things like double stop bends on a tremolo, and it won't go flat. The other option is deck the Floyd once again, so that you can do a double stop. If you deck a Floyd, I do it so that like literally a whole step bend will not pull the tremolo down, but anything above that will. And then, so in other words, just it's this real, sensitive adjustment where you got to set the pressure, the screws screwing in the claw on the underside of the guitar just have to be just right, so that hitting the guitar hard or doing a whole step bend won't bring the trem down. But anything beyond that, and the trem starts to feel real stiff to me. It's just a Floyd is a sensitive thing. Favorite guitar, probably my Signature at this point. Honestly, it's my number one kind of go-to. I can do so much stuff on my Signature guitar, but I loved my Urine LP back there, and my Strat, which is back there against the couch. You see the neck right there. My D28. These are some of my favorites. Yeah. Frank Stallone just got molested at Norm's Rare Guitars. I don't know what that means, but I don't think I want to know. That's Metalhead Hippie. Yeah. All right, you guys, I think I'm going to split. I'm going to go. I got to go work on some Queen tunes, and I got to work on the video for the 6 Overdrive from, I'm going to say it wrong again, Tsakoulis? Hope I'm saying his name right, from Greece. You guys have a great week. I want to thank Ben for being my moderator, and that's very nice of you, dude. Appreciate you being here and doing that. Yeah. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you soon. If not, next Sunday. I don't know where I would see you, but what was I going to say? Oh yeah, out there on my clinic tour. So we got some more. I'll just talk a little bit about that before I go. Got some more clinics coming up in the States in August. Don't want to announce them yet, but there's 3 that we're looking at right now, and they're kind of all over the place, down in the South, Midwest. So we're looking at doing those, and then Europe in the fall. And hopefully there will be more U.S. clinics too. But that's just me coming to town with the PT-15 basically, and tracking a song live in front of you with the amp, demonstrating some pedals and stuff like that as well, and kind of going over my whole recording and production process, and talking a little bit about how great having all this, cool, simple gear for recording has made life, as well as YouTube and all that stuff, YouTube, Instagram, and how it's given me a whole second lease on life, second career, really. That's what the clinic's all about. So I hope if I do one in your area, you'll come out and see me. And that's it for this week. You guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your Sunday. Go see Rick. I'm going to go check out Rick's live stream right now if he's still doing it, see what he's talking about. And I'll see you next week, 11 a.m. Take care.